How can you achieve a really good quality hybrid setup for your strings? By hybrid, I mean using a polystring together with either a multi-filament or a synthetic gut, something that's going to give you good touch, feel, power, but also durability, and is it going to cost too much? That seems like the kind of holy grail of a string setup. Now, what I'm going to really emphasize on with this is the budget nature. So something that doesn't cost quite as much. You can certainly find premium strings that you're going to be paying for the strings alone, sort of 10, 15 pounds a set. What I'm focusing on is how can you do this, but also do it on a budget. And for budget wise, what I'm talking about is £4 for a set of strings, excluding of course stringing. So £4 for the strings, which is around just over $5 US. That if you have your own string machine, if you're paying £4 for strings, for a set of strings, that's a really good deal. If you can get, of course, those great qualities. There are plenty of cheap strings out there, which frankly aren't going to give you, they might give you durability, but you're not going to get touch. You might get power, but you won't get durability. So to combine all those qualities and do it on a budget, it can definitely be done. Okay, so let's get straight to it. So the two strings that I'm recommending you potentially try. The first one is a Japanese string, Gosen. It's OG Sheep Micro Super. This is a 16L gauge, so it's 1.25 millimeters. It is a synthetic gut, so it's a nylon string. This has been around for ages. Famously, Jim Courier used it. He used it in a setup alongside Luxolon Big Banger. This string is really, really good. It's got a lot of power in it. It's still got relative softness, so you get some sort of good touch and feel, but it's also incredibly durable. If you're someone who breaks multi-filaments quite frequently, you'll really struggle to break this, but you still get good qualities it's got some good sort of elasticity to it, some good power, some good touch. I really like this string. And for pairing that up, I would recommend the Signum Pro Hyperion. This is a poly string. It's quite a soft poly string. And this is quite important. I looked around for a long time for a poly that combined both sort of the control qualities of a poly, but also had some softness to get in some touch and some feel into the string. And Hyperion does this really, really nicely. If you like to volley, you'll really notice that you get a lot of touch still. Great amount of power in this string. You can still string it very low. I actually string it down in the 40 pounds, around sort of 44 pounds. I would put this in the mains and Gosen in the crosses, probably more at about sort of 48 to 50. Of course, you'll have to adjust that based on your playing style and racket. But that set up together, the Signum Pro Hyperion and the Gosen OG Sheep Micro together, you can get a reel of the Gosen for 220 meters for around 90 pounds, so probably around $100. And being 220 meters, you're going to get a lot of restrings out of that. And with the Signum Pro, that's about 65 pounds, so probably about $75. That's a 200 meter reel. So when you work out how many strings you get from there, it comes in at just over £4 a racket, or again about $5 US. So, and you are easily going to get 12 to 15 hours out of that set. In fact, you're probably going to be cutting it out before you break those strings. So if you think you could be stringing your rackets on a weekly basis, what's that, £4? So over the year you're spending £200 on your strings. If you've got your own stringing machine, that's a really good budget way to do this. Now, this does not mean that I'm recommending that these are the best strings out there, just on a budget. If you really are saying, I've got to get the cheapest strings possible, but I want performance and I want a hybrid setup, I would recommend these. Who would I not recommend it for? That setup is not going to give you massive access to spin. So if you're someone who likes to rip really, really heavy topspin, that's not going to give that to you. If you also need real sort of massive control, both of those strings are relatively powerful for what they are. So this suits somebody who actually wants a lot of power, who maybe hits a bit flatter with sort of moderate topspin, but who wants a lot of touch. So maybe sort of when you're doing your slices, drop shots, your volleys, you want a lot of access to touch and feel, then that's going to really suit you. So probably an all-court player, plays a bit flatter, wants a lot of power, but also you want those qualities of durability, and of course you want it on a budget. So if we look at the Signum Pro Hyperion, and the one that I showed was the 18 gauge, it's very thin but incredibly durable, great feel from that. If we compare that to another really popular poly, the Babolat RPM Blast, and then similar gauge, you can see there the stats really are incredibly similar. In fact, the Hyperion comes up as having slightly better spin potential. Otherwise, it's actually incredibly similar for a string that is under half the price. And then if we look at the Gosen OG Sheet Micro Super against the Babolat XL, which is again a very popular nylon, in that case a multi-filament, normally put in a hybrid with the Babolat RPM Blast. You can see here again, it's within 10% range in most of these stats, slightly less spin potential, greater energy return, slightly more tension loss, slightly stiffer, but again, for a string that is under half the price of the Babolat XL, if you're on a budget and you want to get a string set up that really still performs, then I don't think you can go too terribly wrong with the Signum Pro Hyperion in the 18 gauge, together with the OG Sheet Micro Super in the 16L, the 1.25. So there you go, that's my recommendation for some a hybrid to try. The Signum Pro Hyperion and the Gosen OG Sheet Micro. You don't have to buy a reel, of course, you can just buy a packet. Why not give it a go, see if it works for you, play around with the tensions. Always good to try something, and at that sort of price, you really can't go wrong for just giving something a try. Have fun, see how that goes for you.